Hello everybody, thank you for tuning into The Grit Life. Today we have another episode where we're talking about passion and perseverance, how you can find your passion, how you can develop it, and how you need to persevere through that journey. Today we've been blessed by having a very special guest, someone who's very special to me. I've been able to watch this guy over the past 4 years truly live a gritty life. This is somebody that I've seen not only just be strong in character, but he's also believes in himself enough to create content, spread different messages, and I find that very inspiring, and I aspire in my own life to achieve that type of greatness and putting myself out there boldly and shamelessly. So without further ado, welcome Mr. John McClellan.
I didn't know you were talking about me. That was such a glowing recommendation there. I had no clue that it was actually talking about me, but thank you, Jared.
Absolutely. Yes, it's very true. Just for context, you know, you're a regional manager at Supreme Lending.
Correct.
You have multiple branches underneath you, big success in the mortgage industry. Not only that, you've been a radio personality for
16 and a half years.
Some people ain't even 16 years old yet. I've been watching this. And on top of that, we've recorded podcasts, we've done different types of content. And on top of that, you have a new business called Atx Hot Sauce, which is blowing up.
It is. Pun intended. It's doing very well. You know, people are like, you live a very busy life, John. And I'm like, I'm only busy because of everything I try to do, I try to be passionate about it.
Right.
Absolutely. When you're passionate about something, it's easy to wake up in the morning. It's easy to, when you go to bed at night, to sleep well, right? And, you know, I work on 7 days a week, on the weekends, making hot sauce, weekdays doing mortgages, and, you know, weeknights sometimes doing radio.
Yeah.
And, but if you're passionate about those kind of things, you can wake up with a smile on your face and say, let's get after it.
It's easy to do.
Yeah. You know, I'm always learning, right?
Yes.
And that's kind of how I got into the hot sauce company. We obviously had COVID hit a little over a year ago. And in the mortgage business, as you've seen, Jared, it's an hour of chaos followed by 30 minutes of just boredom sometimes. Wow. And during those 30 minutes of boredom, you can find other things to keep you occupied other than just the TV or whatever, man. There's good books out there. There's, you know, YouTube videos where you can listen to inspiring people. And that's kind of what I did. I'm like, you know what? I love making hot sauce. So while I'm here at the house working at this time, right, might as well start something and see what happens with it.
Monetize it.
Monetize it. That's right. Monetize your passion. Actually, I think anytime you work at your passion, it gets monetized automatically, right? Because people see the joy in you. And I think people are
attracted to that.
They're very, very attracted to it. And I think that's one of the keys to life. If you go through life being joyful, people will want to interact with you.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody has their friends, the people that they know, acquaintances. When the phone rings, you're like, oh, wow, okay. I'll have to call him back, right, or her back. But there's other people that call, you're like, oh, let me talk to this person, right?
He's cool.
You know, they're joyful, they're passionate, they're whatever, and they have something interesting to say. They're not just rambling on, kind of like I'm doing right now.
That's all right. So the thing that sparked this whole podcast is this everlasting dynamic in life, which is like, never give up, right? And the people that never give up are the ones who end up achieving success in different areas of life. So in my own journey, I am constantly trying to not give up in what I'm doing, and I find it to be challenging. And so for me, I'm looking for outside of myself to find conversations, tactics, mindsets that will help with that grittiness mindset. But I needed something more, and that's why I wanted to host my own conversations with successful people that are showing grittiness in their own life, and I wanted to extract my own knowledge and help share that type of information.
Well, I will tell you, if you're passionate about something, and even if you fail, and we're all going to fail at something, right? But you're never a failure until you give up.
Yes.
That's when you become a failure. Everybody fails. It's a learning lesson, and you've got to learn from it. Now, you look to the past for education for the things you've done wrong, things you've done right, but always look to the future as the next day and listen, you're going to fail.
Totally.
In fact, I recommend that people fail in their life.
And fail
it's
faster.
Necessary. Yes.
Fail faster.
Yeah, right? I mean, you just know when you're going through a failure, that this is the next step to success.
Yes.
Right? Because I can't name one person I know or I've ever heard of that's been a successful in everything they've ever done in their life. Right?
Those are usually the sketchy ones. You
Those
got to
are the
look into
sketchy
that.
ones, right? So when you're failing, don't lose heart. Smile and say, okay, I'm just taking the next step to success.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. I mean, this hot sauce business, it could still fail.
Yeah.
You know, my mortgage business could still fail. On the radio show, people might stop listening to me,
Yeah.
right? They may have already, I just don't know it. But, but you just take it one step at a time, and you don't let the past drag you down. You just learn from it.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's this first there's this book called Grit, and that's what turned me onto this whole gritty concept. And so in the book, they talk about this one dynamic, which is grit equals like development, and it's the opposite of natural talent. And so my question to you is like, where in your own life did you experience, where did your natural talent naturally just like carry you to success? And then what was another aspect of your life that was more gritty?
I don't think I've ever been talented at anything, to be honest
So
with
it's
you.
all been grit.
Maybe it has, in that definition. The radio show, when I started doing it 16 and a half years ago, I could never imagine myself back then getting up in front of people and speaking. My mom used to say I mumbled all the time, and so I was hard to understand. And you have to learn how to get behind a microphone and talk for a lot, right? I remember the first day I did the radio show, and I had taken these notes about, there's like a stack of paper about this big with just bullet points. This is what I'm going to talk about. This is what I'm going to talk about. And I remember sitting down in front of the microphone, and all these thoughts of people in my past, you can't, you need to speak up. You need to do this. You need to do that. They all came rushing through my head, and I got tunnel vision. I mean, like when the black starts coming in and they're counting down, and this is a major radio station and there's people listening. I mean, it's a very weird feeling, and it's like you're not in control. But I have my notes, right? So it's an hour-long show.
Yeah.
I went through every bit of my notes in about 6 minutes. Yeah, probably talking too fast, maybe, but went through the whole entire notes for 6 minutes. Then we went to commercial. And I'm like, okay, just breathe and do it. So I still don't remember the first radio show, but I have it on recording. I'm never going to listen to it, right? I'll listen to all the good ones, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean about don't dwell on the past, learn from it. And I learned that you can over-prepare for radio. Maybe other things you can't. You need to prepare very much so. But with radio, I think there's almost a sense of a performance, right? Mm-hmm. And especially when it's a call-in talk show.
Yeah.
And you've got to vibe off the people that are calling in. But I think I got past it. Weren't you there when I got up and spoke at the sales rally?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I was asked. The parent companies. I have what's basically called a franchise in the mortgage business. It's called a net branch, but it's like a franchise. So I have the offices in Houston, San Antonio, and here in Austin, and one in Dripping Springs. And they have this big sales rally once a year. Yeah. And there was about 700 people at the sales rally in this room. And I was asked to speak in front of not only 700 people or 650 people, not just people I didn't know, but my peers and my friends and people who do the same thing that I do from all over the country.
No pressure.
No pressure whatsoever. And I had to give a 25-minute speech. And that one was tough, but you have to get up and you do it. People are like, man, I can't believe you're getting up there. I go, you have to.
You got to pay the cost to be the boss.
That's right.
And what other people aren't willing to do, the people who are really willing to step up, those are the people that take the positions of power.
Well, you remember so I have this, a phrase or a word that I send out to all my salespeople once a year. And in fact, everybody that works for me. And about 3 or 4 years ago, it was, I want you to be uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Put yourself in uncomfortable positions. And if you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, you will grow to the next level. Yeah. You may fail, but you'll never be a failure as long as you keep putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. Yeah. And challenged all my staff to do that, and a lot of them did. A guy that works for me, Jason, went out and did Toastmasters and took the classes for like a year and got up and spoke in front of just tons and tons of people all the time, and he's a great public speaker now.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of other people in my office, you know, they would go put themselves in front of people that they would usually be afraid to do. But you know, sales is tough.
Yeah,
Totally.
Right?
It is.
And it's a
Rejections,
rejection. You're going to be rejected. If you think you're going to be in sales and you're now, oh, I'm so good, I never get rejected. BS. You're always going to have rejections, but remember, you may fail at that one, but you're never going to be a failure if you go to the next one.
Yes.
Try it again.
Yeah.
That's the trick in life. I mean, it's so universal, and I know a lot of people talk about it, but practicing it is a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where like these mindsets, these habits, like we both read a lot of books. I know you read a lot of books about, you know, daily habits, what you need to do and different actions you need to take, because there's this concept of like, even though you don't know what you want to do, the fact that you're stepping out and taking action is a big part of it. And so in this book, they were talking about passion, right? And a lot of people don't know specifically what their passion is, but a lot of people will pick a direction and they'll just start taking steps. And as you take those steps, things reveal themselves to you. Things become more clear. I was listening to the lady who wrote the book, Angela Duckworth, and she was talking about this concept that in life, people usually try to give you a map on how to reach success. If you take these specific steps, you'll get to this point. But even for myself, that I've tried to adapt and follow some of these maps, it doesn't work like that,
Yeah,
right?
everybody's different. It's going to work. Everybody has their own path that they have to walk because of who they are and where they come from and what their values are and what they want to do, right?
Very true.
And I'll be honest with you, how hard do you really want to work?
Yeah.
Because I think that's where a lot of people fail at taking the next step is work ethic.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And, you know, you talk about books. I do a lot of audio books.
Yeah.
Because I do it when I'm driving to appointments in the car. I'll just want to have a quiet night at home. And I do a lot of audio books, and I was on Audible, the app that I use. Like, what my total time has been over the last like 4 years or so. It's 4 months and like 10 days
Damn.
worth of books.
Yeah.
Nice.
4 months worth of basically reading, right?
Come on, people, put up, send in your screnershots of your read time. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, that would be, send your, I'll send you
Yeah.
guys mine. A
We'll
shot of
post
mine.
it.
Yeah. You know, I have every badge you can ever have on Audible,
Yeah.
right? But I think with that, what you're doing is you're opening yourselves up to other experiences when you read.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, you can find where your passion may lie.
Yeah.
If you look at my playlist, it's very diverse. There's a few zombie books in there. There's some, you know, there's some SEAL Team 6 books in there, and there's some 1 or 2 self-help books in there. A lot of books on economics, real estate.
Yeah.
You know, there's some autobiographies in there too.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be. So for me, you know, we were talking about, you know, being passionate and
Sure.
doing things in your life, and you know, obviously I have these 3 or 4 things that I'm doing, but I've always had a passion for learning, and I think that's really a big key in life.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of people gets to a point that you start achieving certain success. Like right now, like, hey, I have this ATX Sauce program,
Right.
the radio program, real estate. I have all this ventures and they're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
They're succeeding. How can you come from like not stay stagnant and like you mentioned, like not be like continue being uncomfortable, putting yourself in an uncomfortable position?
Well,
because once you hit a certain point, it's like, okay, now it's time
comfortable
to
with
relax,
success.
and that's when you stop growing.
Yeah, you can't relax. I don't think. You know, my thing is that I always have a new hobby. You know, I've gone through. You know, cooking is obviously one of
Yeah.
mine. That's like one of my love languages, right?
Yeah.
Acts of service. But like, I have a telescope that's bigger than I am.
Wow.
That I used to do, and I have my camera that I used to hook up to it. It would become the lens, and I'd take deep sky pictures of nebulas and galaxies.
That's
and things.
cool.
Yeah, and I'm still into it. Still
Yeah.
have the telescope. Don't do it as much anymore, but I still have a passion for it. You know, you know, golf obviously is a passion
Yeah.
for me too. You're always going to fail at golf, so don't worry about that. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect at that. But you find these little passions in your life that you do, and they keep you kind of motivated and going, and keep your brain. You know, when you learn, you're keeping your brain young.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Yeah.
And so even if your job is perfect and you're happy, you don't want to, that's the only job you want, have something else that excites you too, right? That, you know, when you want to go home to, if it's a telescope, putting it out of the bag. If it's just photography, going around doing videography or photography. If it's cooking, if it's golfing, if it's tennis, it's whatever it is, be a student of it, right? And what I mean by that is this is an amazing world we live in right now, right? We have access to more information, good or bad, than anybody in the combined history of the world, right? I mean, think about it. Any person can go out there and teach themselves how to be a great photographer just by books, videos, you know, YouTube, all these things online. You can teach yourself how to be a mediocre golfer. Yes, you know, that's a little upset with golf right now. But you know, in cooking, and it's pretty amazing the amount of access that we have. So to say that, well, I just don't know what I would do, what else I would do. I don't know. I'm just going to watch TV. I'm going to go watch, 14 Netflix shows in a row.
No.
Okay, that's great. What did you learn? That Billy doesn't like Tommy and he shot Nancy on the show, right? How is that's not growing?
No,
right?
it's
now,
not.
And I'm not saying that I haven't watched a few Netflix.
No, for sure.
Exactly.
Yellowstone. Who can not watch that, right? But there's times that you should walk away from the TV. Like I stopped watching the news. From the Foxes to the MSNBCs and the CNNs. Just stop watching. There's other places to get your news now, right? I guess my point I was trying to get at is that we have such access to all this information that you can find something to be passionate about, not just the TV and the couch.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can settle into that and it's not good. I mean, I have a garden at home, which you've seen, there's all these kind of things, and learning is just...
It's the vital step, right?
And that's the one thing that's changed over the last 25 years with the internet.
Okay.
That if you want to learn, everything's at your fingertips. If you, like I have people in my office who are like, hey John, show me how to do this Excel spreadsheet. I'm like,
pull up a YouTube video.
There's Mr. Excel, there's all these other guys on YouTube who taught me how to do it, right? If you want to know how to work Word or Publisher or whatever, there are people who are willing to give their experience for free to you on the internet, right?
So it comes down to the personal responsibility.
Be uncomfortable.
Taking control of your life, saying, I'm not settled.
There's no excuse.
That's right.
Exactly.
There's zero excuse. Now, hey, well, I live on a farm in the middle of nowhere. I don't have access. Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do.
Right? No matter where you are, you have access to this information.
Yeah.
So that's what I think. Instead of going to these chat rooms and full of hate, go learn something and pass that knowledge, pass that passion along to somebody else. And that's going to bring me to one of my main points I wanted to talk about today. I love the people I work with on a daily basis. I love all of them. I want them to be successful.
Sure.
That's also one of my underlying passions. Remember I said my acts of service is my life. Like I want to cook food for people. I want to do this, as you know, with my barbecue and everything else that I do. I'm passionate for them. I want them to succeed. And so one of the joys of my life, if I see a guy that's, I have one of my guys who's been with me for a long time. He would have now, and don't get me wrong, I started in the restaurant. I was a bartender at wedding tables right before I got in the mortgage business 26 years ago. My buddy who works for me now, he was the same thing. And to see his growth over the last 18, 19 years, working together with him and how successful he is now with his amazing family, I wake up thinking about that and thinking about the joy that brings me. Yeah. Because I feel like and I don't mean this in any weird way, but I feel like I have some responsibility for that, right? And just like I have the responsibility for somebody who's not doing well that works for me, I want them to be successful because I'm passionate about all of them. Yeah. And you've worked for me in the past for over 4 years, and I give people the chance to expand.
You supported me in many ways throughout those 4 years, and again, that's one of the. I am so inspired by who you have become and who you are because of these things that you're saying. They're true. And I see that in other people, the way you interact with other people. Again, I just think it's magical, and that's why you're a perfect guest.
I think that's one of the keys to life in general. If you're passionate about your friends, the people you work with, your family, and you inspire them, and you love on them when they do great, but you back them up when they fail, right?
Yeah.
And make sure that they're not failures. Remember, fail is okay. We're all going to fail, and that's a good thing to remember, especially with family members, right?
Yeah.
You will miss the mark.
And if you're going to work for anybody in this time and world and learn from somebody, work for somebody who's passionate about you.
Yes.
Right? Because if they're not passionate about you and who you are and where you're going, there's other people who are out there. Go find those people. Those are the people to go after.
It's not spoken about enough. I feel like in some of our culture right now, everyone is so immediate gratification, right? It's like, I want to watch a YouTube video, get a certificate, and I want to be paid $500,000 because...
Within 3 weeks.
Yeah, within 3 weeks. And it just don't work that way. And I think the conversation of development, failing forward, there's a saying that I love. It's called, the cost of entry is participation. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is participate. Once you start that journey of trying, then you're going to naturally become a problem solver. Yeah. Oh, I got hit with this conflict. Oh, I got hit with this problem. Well, it's a test. Are you just going to sit there and be like, I'm not capable? Or are you going to step up, problem solve, and become the better version of yourself that you aspire to be?
Well, I think the biggest excuse I hear from people who don't act like this, it's like, well, there's not just enough time in the day. I get up about 5:30 or 6 every day.
Yep.
And you see the emails.
I was going to say, that was one of my talks. I was going to say.
You see the emails going out, and I try to immerse myself in the industry on the mortgage side of it as a whole, like with news articles and blogs and things like that, just to get a sense of what's happening with my industry, because I am still passionate about that industry too. And then I work throughout the day, and I might get done some nights, especially when we're working on the hot sauce business. I won't get done until midnight.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, I don't have time to do. You don't have an hour of the day to be passionate about something else or somebody else. Mm-hmm. Well, how much TV did you watch? What did you
social media time.
How much time did you scroll?
How many time did you spend at that bar down the street? Yeah, that's great. You're socializing, but how much time did you invest in somebody or yourself?
Yes.
Right? If you did that for 1 hour a day, that's 5 hours a week, right? I mean,
it can start to compound.
Yeah.
You look back and be like,
how much growth can you have from that?
It's just like working out. Well, not that I do that very much, but it's the same principle. And people make up excuses because they say it's time's fault. No, time is up to you.
Yeah.
And if you ever notice how you perceive time changes throughout the day and throughout your life.
Totally.
And I think you have power over that time and power about what you can do. And don't tell me you're too old or too young or whatever. I'm in my mid-50s, and I'm still working 16-hour days and 17-hour days. And people are like, well, don't you want to retire? Don't you want to stop? I'm like, why would I stop when I'm passionate about somebody? Listen, if I had some government job, right, where I just clocked I probably would be ready to go.
Yep.
Maybe not. I think I might find passion in there somewhere, right? That's just me. But if you're passionate, why would you ever retire?
Exactly. Right? Yeah. Why will you retire? It's like
I don't. You know what? I'm retiring from passion.
Doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make any sense at all, does it? So if you live your life passionate about things, then you're never going to retire.
Exactly.
But I found the key, and maybe it's just me because I'm a little ADD, is that I have to have new things too in my life, right?
Yeah.
New passions, because I love the initial learning curve of anything.
Sure.
Be it cooking, be it doing barbecue, be it a hot sauce, be it the mortgage business, be whatever I'm doing, the photography or my telescope or whatever I'm doing out there. That initial learning curve, I love, because it's something you have to power through, and you have a feeling of accomplishment when you can actually have a conversation with somebody who's really good at it. And you're like, wow, I just contributed to the conversation because you put the hours in on something you were passionate about.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm I don't know the exact phrase, but a master of nothing and
jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, exactly. But it's okay. And I'll tell you that in life, anytime you can relate to people, right, it helps help them to be passionate about you. So if I have multiple hobbies or multiple passions that I like to do, and I can find a common ground with you or with you.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I were photography. That's
Absolutely.
kind of where you and I, talked about, and those are passionate things, and it's a joyful thing to meet somebody else who's passionate about something you're passionate about. So, my challenge to everybody out there is be passionate about multiple things. And like I said, that learning curve, when you're learning something new, man, that's kind of a high.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Especially when you like get a little success, like you reach a success in a step, you be like, yeah, you know what? I'm pretty bad.
I'll wake up in the morning, and if I have a new passion I'm going after, I'm like, oh man, I got to get up. I want to go do this. Or I lay down at night, and that starts rolling through my head about, oh man, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to do this tomorrow. And then I'm like, I better just get out of bed because I can't go to sleep.
Yeah,
because I want to go learn more.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So you know what I mean by that learning curve is fun.
Yep,
It's so important because there's a saying that it says like, winning is not everything. Learning is.
Yeah.
So that's very important because when I was reading that book, I was like, it's so true. A lot of people want just to win on everything. Like I want to win.
You want to be perfect.
Perfect. Win. And it's not the goal of winning. The goal is learning.
It's the journey.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, and I'm going to throw the analogy in there, golf.
Yeah.
If you were perfect at golf and you got a hole-in-one on every hole every time, you would not be passionate about it anymore because you're not. Because I think that whoever's played golf out there understands that if you play it a lot, that every day is a struggle with your swing, with your clubs, with the terrain, with the elements, and everything. But that struggle is part of the joy of golf when you do have that great hole or that great shot. Mm-hmm. If you listen, how passionate would you be about something if you succeeded at everything you did and you were perfect at it?
Yep.
You wouldn't understand the journey, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, it's like in video games when you go to God mode. Oh yeah, I just killed everything on that level, but I really don't feel like I accomplished anything because I went straight to
it's too easy.
Top.
Yeah. You invincibility mode,
Yeah, you went straight to the top and you missed all of this. And I think life is like that too, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things you were trying to say earlier is that if you have your eye at the goal up top here, that's great.
Yeah.
But enjoy all those little goals. That learning curve that I was talking about, right? Enjoy that whole thing.
Success isn't a destination; it's a journey. Supports that.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of quips and analogies and stuff about that. But I think it's because they're true, right?
Right.
And I think you also get addicted to learning, which is really cool.
We just
Especially
learned
with the tools that we have.
We just got the title for the podcast: "Addicted to Learning."
Yeah. Well, I mean, every sport,
you're absolutely right.
You do.
Okay, on that topic, then I have a question.
Okay.
So, what setback in your life set you up for a comeback? If winning isn't everything, what was an instant in your life where something happened? It rocked the boat, you weren't expecting it, but it literally unknowingly set you up for your even bigger comeback?
Probably a couple of things. One that happened probably about 20 years ago now. My wife and I were taking care of my grandmother, which was a big financial burden.
Okay.
I made some unfortunate financial decisions. Like very unfortunate financial decisions. Had to file bankruptcy, lost our house.
Wow.
This is like right in 2001.
Okay.
A lot of things went wrong. And it was hard, from going from a real big, nice house to, basically gotta go rent a house, build everything from scratch again. And I thought I was old at that time, but I was like 35, right? But it felt like I was old, right?
Wow.
But I remember going, how am I ever going to, I just would go to work the next day. And I would just go to work the next day. And I would be passionate with my children. And I would just go to work the next day. And you just get past it. And you move past it. And you learn from it. You don't dwell on it. You don't let it tear you down. I would say probably the other thing that happened in my life that was a huge, this one actually taught me how to learn from the past but not dwell on it. Mm-hmm. So my father died when I was 17 years old, the first day of my senior year in high school. And him and I, my parents were divorced, and him and I were roommates. We were living together, right? My dad was a cool guy. He died, and my whole life changed, right? And for about 3 or 4 years, I didn't make good decisions. I didn't, I blamed, oh my God, my dad died, so the whole world's crap, and whatever it may be. And then my mom taught me this amazing lesson that, and So I'll be very open, honest
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I didn't pay a speeding ticket like I did a lot of times back then, and I got arrested on like a Wednesday before Thanksgiving for not paying a stupid speeding ticket.
Sure.
And called my mom. Hey, Mom, come get me out. Come bail me out. It was like $45 or something back then. This is a long time ago. And my mom's like, click. I sat there for 4 days in the county jail in downtown Austin,
Wow.
Travis County, and got to think a lot, right? Wow, maybe this journey is about me and not leaning too much on everybody, my account, because somebody's going to bail me out, right?
Sure.
And I walked out of there and I started to I still make bad decisions.
No, right.
But I started to make better decisions. And my mom's tough love put me on that course, so thank you, Mom, I appreciate you.
Miss McClellan.
That's right. It put me on that path. I got goosebumps thinking about my mom.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was angry, right? I was like, I can't believe she's doing this to me because I was immature, right? And it matured me being there, and it gave me the next time in fact, I don't know if I got a speeding ticket. I probably did. Well, I had got a speeding ticket. I got one about 8 years ago. I paid it right away, right? And I know that wasn't the lesson to be learned, but that's part of the lesson, right? Is that you got to take care of your shit, man.
Yes.
If you don't take care of your shit, nobody else
Bad
is
things
going
happen.
to. Bad things happen. That's exactly right.
That's-
So, and I'm not going to say that if you take care of everything in your life that nothing bad can happen, because it is going to happen.
Yeah.
That bad things happen. It's how you deal with them.
The perspective on it. You want the bad things.
And do not forget your failures. That's the worst thing you can do. You have to remember those because that's what makes you a better person.
Yeah.
And I think you also should share your failures, just like I'm doing right now.
Absolutely.
Because if they look at you and you're successful, right, and they're like, wow, Jared's probably never failed at anything. Then they feel like
restarted.
then all they think is, well, I can never fail at anything if I'm going to be like you, right?
And it's a misconception.
No, that's not. We all fail, right? And I'll say it again. If you've never failed anything, you're lying. First of all, to me, right? But it's not real.
Yeah.
Your success is not real.
And that shows you're not trying anything.
Yeah.
If you're not failing, you're not attempting it. Because I try a lot of things and I fail a lot. Episodes of this podcast, things come out blurry. Oh, the microphone didn't record. It's like, learning lessons, right? But I'm accepting them because it's making me step up my game.
Can you imagine if you put all of those mistakes out of your brain? Like if you had a way to wipe the bad decisions you've ever made. You ever been driving down the road and you think about a bad decision you made like 10 years before, and you're like, oh, and you start banging your head on the head. Yeah, you're just like, oh, get that thought out of my brain. But actually, those are good things, right? To remember and to share with other people. And if you are passionate about the people you work with, the people you live with, the people around you, then you will share your failures with them. Never cover up. Don't put that, that perfect shirt on and whatever and pretend like you've never failed, because you're doing them a disservice. If you love those people and you're passionate about the people you work for, your family, your friends, then you want to share your failures with them, right? Because that they can learn through you, and maybe they will even open up more, and then they'll look at the possibilities of how if they are passionate about themselves and what they do and the people around them, that they could be successful too, even with failures.
Woo!
Right?
I like it.
Love
Yes.
it.
I'm very appreciative that we're having this conversation, because even in my own life, when I go out and I talk to people, I'm always on this type of talk. What are you passionate about? What are we doing? What are we building? What are we attempting to create?
What are we learning?
Yeah, and I mean, that's how we met. I was like, Lewis, what's up? What books are you reading? What are you trying to do? How do we stimulate something? Not enough people are hip to that game. And sometimes when I open my mouth, people look at me and be like, I've never thought about that question. I'm not actually attempting anything. And it blows me away, because how can we all have access to the same information, yet some people are just choosing not to participate?
Yeah, exactly.
To do something for themselves. Like, I don't want you to do it for me. Do it for you. And
well, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that they would rather ask you how to do something than learn it on their own.
Sure.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Right? I'll show you how to do something. But if you want to take it to the next level, there's we keep talking about there's so much out there.
Yes.
We are so blessed in the time that we live in right now.
Yeah.
Now, there's other things that are messed up with this world, right?
Yeah.
The one thing, whether you like it or not, is the internet, right?
Yeah.
We do have access to good and bad information. It's your job to weed through that.
Yes.
Not the government's job, right?
Not Google's, not Facebook's.
Nobody's job to do that but you. And if you find good things out there that you can learn. So yeah, I hate people who are like, well, I just, I don't have time to do that. I don't, we talked about that earlier. Yeah, you do. Oh, I don't have access. Yes, you do. It's maybe something internally that you haven't found that passionate thing. So my advice to everybody out there, if you don't know what you're passionate about, start with being passionate with the people you work with, the people who are your friends and your family. If you start with that and be passionate about them and learn what they're passionate about, you're probably, because these are people like your friends, especially your family, you're probably going to find a common thing that you're going to be passionate about, right? So if you can't find it on your own, start with the people around you. Be passionate about them, right?
I love that.
It'll come.
Yeah,
You'll
that's
find
a good advice. Yeah, I think that's when you have to, like, there's a saying that don't. Sometimes you don't have to be passionate about something. Just bring it with you. So when you find the right people, or you're with the people, you're basically sharing those passions.
Yeah, be your friends and your families and coworkers. Be their cheerleader. Be passionate about them, and your passion will come.
All right, what's a question that I wasn't smart enough to ask you? What do you think? Like departing, I'm not giving up, and all that.
You do a great job.
All right, there we go. That was what I was looking for.
Gotta give those attaboys.
Yeah. Again, I'm just very thankful that you've opened up. I've heard you in a lot of conversations, but I've never heard you quite say this type of stuff. So I think a lot of people are going to get a lot from it.
Yeah, that's going to help them a lot.
Absolutely, because again, so a lot of times you can think you're alone in this journey. Nobody is as big a failure as me. No one is messed up as much as me. And we like to play that game. But once you realize, he's messed up, and that's not the point, though. The point, though, is messing up, identifying who you are and who you want to be, making sure that if you're messing up right now or things aren't working out, they're probably not in alignment with who you want to be. So just change it. Become conscious of
if you're not passionate about what you do, or your life, or your friends, change them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's no life worth living.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I appreciate what you said a minute ago. I still fail on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I try to make my failures smaller, right?
Sure.
But they still happen. And I think that's one of the things that people need to remember in life, is that I'll probably, if I make it to 90 or whatever, I'm sure I'll fail at that point too.
Yeah.
After a time, you just got to look at it like we've been talking about. Failures are stepping stones and glimpses into what you can do.
Yeah.
Right? And you only fail when you stop. Right?
Yeah.
Like if the first time I ever cooked a meal, it was not good. And I used to watch my grandmothers cook all the time. That was their love language to me, and I loved that. But the first time I ever cooked steak, it was the worst steak you've ever had in your life. And if I'd have just said, I'm done. I'm never going to cook a steak again in my life, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm never going to do barbecue again. I'm never going to do anything. Then, what was the first video you ever took?
No, let's not go there.
You don't even want to see it, right? You don't even want to see it.
It's not even released anymore.
Yeah, so like my radio show, the first one I ever did, trust me, I learned from it, right? But I don't want to listen to it again, right? But I remember the lessons that it taught me.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the important thing, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can leave on a high note. Again, thank you for coming on the show.